we go.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Lovely to see you
Oh.
all. Oh dear, hello, excuse me. Is it frozen? Please don't be frozen. There we go. All right, we're not frozen. It's all good. We're good.
Late.
All as well.
Did we win?
Yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Scy'kadia admin Q&A. Because tragically, we couldn't have an event today, but we still wanna do something. We still wanna interact with you guys. We still wanna say hi to you all. It's just a shame. Here we are. We're here to answer your questions as we are at every Q&A. I don't know why I decided to start talking because I am very tired. So someone else, please take over.
Yes. So this is our stand-in for the fact that we couldn't have the game. We're sorry. It's not really in our control. Blame the government, I guess. But yeah, we're here.
Oh no, Chris.
Oh no, Chris. Missing you again.
I might be frozen. I might be having some technical issues.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
No, Chris is just very, very still. He's perfected the art of being a statue.
So
That's
sneaky.
right.
Is just super sneaky.
I'm getting lots of little blurry bits on my end, so I apologize.
Mhm.
I'm gonna move a bit, actually.
But yeah,
Did anyone
everyone.
respond to our post about any questions? Any pre-questions?
I mean,
Yeah.
start
Okay,
sending
any
in
pre-questions?
your questions if it's about lore or our plans for this year. Although we might not be able to answer those particularly.
So with certainty.
Yeah, with certainty.
We'll answer to the best of our ability.
About mechanics, about how we're doing. Actually, I'll start off with a question. How are we all doing, guys? How's it going?
We've all had good last few days. I say that a little bit sarcastically.
I've had a great day. Today's been so great. Everything's going so well for me.
Sorry if we're a bit low energy today, guys. I know I haven't had a lot of sleep, but Becky does have at least one dog, so
There's another one lurking. And this one has made me have a very stressful morning, so
oh,
yeah.
puppy. Maybe I should get my dog and we just turn this into a dog stream.
Look, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, Scy'kadia dog stream.
Let's
I
go.
wouldn't be
I
mad.
don't have a dog. But...
This guy hates dogs.
Malik has
Not me, I
basically
love
a
him.
dog.
Okay.
I have a bee.
Wait, is that?
That's the one that M got me.
Oh yeah, cute.
Their name is
Um,
Neferbiti.
We love to
Well,
see it.
Do we have any questions?
I mean, Samantha says hi, Dwagon.
That's this little guy.
Oh,
I should
a little guy.
scoop a goober. Show off the goober to everyone because
You should.
I'm allowed to. I control the stream. It's my stream now.
So, does everyone want to see my Kraken? Here he is.
Ah.
That's in
I
his
love
happy
that.
Kraken,
Thank
but
you.
he also has angry mode.
The duality of the Kraken.
Yeah, that's actually the holy symbol of the Kraken. Take it from me. I'm the expert.
That's the first question of the
What
day,
I say
folks.
is law.
What does the holy symbol of the Kraken look like? That.
Yeah,
It's
that.
a little angry guy.
I have a man.
Oh, look at that.
A very
goober.
squishy man.
Boy.
How
Yeah.
he doesn't. He seems very not
Yeah.
excited. Oh, no, there he goes.
Oops.
Alrighty.
There we go. What's the
Do we
dog
have-
doing?
What's the dog doing? Which dog?
Which dog?
Yeah.
So
Which
there's
one?
three.
There are
The one that's
multiple
half
dogs.
dead in the lounge, or
What that
Um,
dog do though?
Sally's taking a nap. This one, Audrey, is causing me intense medical concerns.
And this one's trying to escape my clutches.
but cannot?
I've got him. He is trapped.
Did we get any questions?
I don't think we got any questions.
No,
on
we
the
haven't got
pre-post.
any questions yet. Oh,
Well,
I put a post up the other day. I'm gonna see if anything got asked on that.
you guys don't have any
I can't
questions.
remember
You know,
getting
we're just gonna hang out
notifications
and show you dogs.
I mean,
Yep.
Who
I mean
wants to
that's
see a
I mean
cat?
that's as good a stream as any.
It's
Sprinkling.
absolutely true.
Look how cute she is. She deserves.
I have a question for the audience actually, for the players. What fun, exciting things have you all been working on in the break? Because I know I've given myself so many craft projects and everything for when game goes back. What have you all been up to?
Yeah, tell us about all of your crafts.
Yes. All of your
Tell us about all of the
skins.
costume upgrades. I know that I've accidentally ended up with like 3 new outfits.
Yeah.
Oops. We did have one question on the pre-post, which was from Annika about whether there have ever been elementari who've taken animal forms. The
Sort
answer
of.
to that is sort of yes.
Sort of, yes.
Elementari who take animal forms tend to be life elementari, and they tend to take forms like kind of like more like satyrs and fauns.
Woodland creatures.
Woodland creatures that have sort of combined, like have elements of animals in their humanoid body.
Yeah,
They tend to not be full, but we do occasionally have any full animal elementaries will almost always be NPCs, such as Bumbleshins.
because it's also like really hard to do a costume for an animal.
He's
Yeah.
gone. He wants to escape.
They also
Farewell,
tend
sir.
to be forming themselves to interact with mortals who can sort of interact back. So as far as adventuring elementari, you're not likely to meet. Actually, I've got Bumbleshin sitting over there. I've just realised I should try and grab him something.
Yeah,
But
so elementari tend to want to look humanoid and mortal so they can interact with people, but sometimes
Although-
they'll have.
one thing
He
that
has a new name, by the way,
is
Bumblechunks.
a lot of elements. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
His name is
Bumblechunks.
Bumblechunks.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
One thing that springs to mind is the idea of like a fairy glade where you've got elementals that aren't necessarily taking a mortal form, but are instead just appearing as like illusory things. I can imagine a real Miyazaki style, animals with symbols across their fur, and they're vaguely ghost-like, sort of drifting through the wind, or like silver foxes made of moonlight running across glades and stuff like that. I can see that sort of thing happening, but as far as elementari, not as much. It's more like, for example, if someone has an elemental familiar, it might look something like Bumbleshins, or it might have look a little bit. In fact, I think someone does have a familiar that's this weird blue 3-tailed fox thing.
Oh yeah, someone's got a
Yeah,
not a carbuncle.
Yeah, but they're always a little weird. It's not like a talking fox is just an elemental. It's like a talking fox with 4 eyes and 6 legs and
Mad.
yeah.
Jerome, on your question of elementary plus
Yeah.
shifter, no.
Nip that in the bud straight away. No.
Shifters is an inherited trait passed down from parent to child. Elementari don't have parents, so not possible.
Like, the only time that could have possibly happened was, like, during the age of the Wizard Kings, but even then, highly unlikely, and it's not something we'd allow as player character.
Yeah. Something that could be a potential thing is if there was a ritual to make an elementari take on, like, temporarily its actual elemental form, like burst its skin, become like a greater elemental temporarily. Like if someone were playing a stone elementary and there was a ritual to temporarily turn them into our stone golem, stuff like that, possibly, but not as just a general. I choose to be part animal.
Yeah, all of these would be NPCs or admin sanctioned short period things, because to allow someone to be an elementary and a shifter would probably be a little bit OP.
Far too many magical shenanigans in one body.
Someone turn themselves into a shifter? I don't think so.
Currently, the law explanation for not being able to do so is basically that magic at the time that shifters were created was incredibly potent. And since the dwarves made the vortex, the current realms have never seen magic that powerful, where they can take an entire species of beings and mix them with something else. There is a vague reference in a wiki page about some common monsters in the Weft, talking about, what are they? It's called, I can't remember what they're called. They're like the Twisted or the Veered or something, and it's just like what would happen if a modern sorcerer tried to make a shifter, and they're these mutant, like not as strong as a shifter, not as fast, not as clever as a person. They're just like like stuck halfway between animal and person, like kill me.
What you're saying is the downfall of Geth is the fault of the dwarves. That's all I'm taking out of that.
Definitely
it's all the dwarves.
Dwarves did it.
It's a hard time to be a wizard.
But no,
in the chat.
A big part of adding these, I'll try and find what they're called, but a big part of writing those into the setting was, does anyone remember our half centaur game, or our reverse centaur game, where we had a bunch of people running around in those awful rubber horse masks, basically just screaming in people's faces? Those, in my opinion, are what these things would be. So if we ever want random creatures that aren't quite shifters, like they're not as terrifying, but they're weirder, we can just throw random animal prosthetics at people and just say, like, ever seen Wheel of Time? You know what a Trolloc is? Do that.
So hear me out, Chris.
Yes.
Like, we get the most pacifist animal possible and make it a shifter.
We could make it one of these gross half-breed things, but I don't think a pure shifter would benefit from being part sheep.
I'm pretty sure a pacifist shifter completely defeats the purpose of shifters.
Yeah. A reiteration for players who wonder is our shifters are not based on Twilight werewolves or there's certain cultures, like I believe originally Irish werewolves were actually guardian spirits as well. I was researching this stuff on YouTube a while back. It was pretty cool. But ours is based on the modern interpretation of this is a curse. It is a bad thing. You will kill all of your family if you shift.
Has anyone seen a French film called, I think it's called Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Nope.
Oh, that was a good one. French one?
Yeah, it was a French film. English subtitles. It was a thing about werewolves, and I think that's what I imagine when I think our shifters. Is just these scary things in the wild that just brutally murder people and just aren't controllable.
There's actually a good show on Stan at the moment. I binged it the other day in like 3 hours, called Wolf Like Me with Isla Fisher and Josh Gad. And I didn't know what it was going into it, but it's a werewolf show, and it really...
really? Because none of the... I've seen ads for it and been like, it seems like just another romance drama thing, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's from
think they would have dragged
in
a much bigger audience if they actually were like, hey, look, this is about werewolves.
I was saying that the other day, like, they've done a good job of hiding it, but like there's only one hint in the ads, and it's him looking through like a metal door slit at something horrifying, but they don't make animal noises or anything. But in the show, it's really good. It highlights her worry about, like, you know, I turn into this thing, I can't control it, and also, like, I can't have relationships with anyone because of it, and I have to go through all this stuff, planning my life around it, and it's really good.
So, Chris, in your head, when you did the lore for shifters, did you imagine them just very large, almost like direwolf type, or like the typical hybrid shape of, like, half human, half wolf?
A little of both, to be honest. I didn't expect our players to have to run around on all fours, but like, what's a good version? Ever seen Dog Soldiers?
No.
That's a good version. Or even the underworld werewolves, where they're a fraction bigger than a human, but they're mostly bipedal, unless they choose not to.
So still covered in fur, still.
Yeah, not like Benicio del Toro, the Wolfman, or anything. Definitely more like an actual beast. Like monster hunters don't have to look at it and go, "Oh, it's partly human." Like they'd look at it and go, "Like, oh my god, that thing's a, yeah." Again, wolf like me. When you do end up seeing the werewolf, it's a really good representation. It's got like her green eyes. It's really cool. Like you can see the human in it, but it's definitely a creature. Mm.
Jerome, to answer your question, druid, if you're trying to create a druid-like character, druid is a class, not a race, so you don't have to be an elementary to be a druid. I would recommend making yourself being a shifter, and then doing like a mage healer combo with make your patron Gowler, do some
maybe pick up an alchemy kit.
Yeah.
And if you want your race to be particularly like woody, I guess I'd go with an elf or maybe even like a gnome.
Yeah, you could make your like non-shifter form like elven or something. Obviously that wouldn't count as your race. Your race is always going to be shifter. But yeah.
In the same way that Corin's race is Cambion, even though he is like his mortal parent was fallen elf. He's still a Cambion.
Just thinking out loud, as far as like us as game designers, a big part of not wanting to, like, shifters have in advance the warning that yes, you're going to have to commit to having 2 costumes, and one of them is going to be like a heat stroke nightmare for you. So think carefully before you do this. Playing a druidic character, there's always a potential that we could put some ritual in for example, healers of Gowler, where they take on a bear-like form or something. But we would have to, like, in advance let healers of Gowler know they've got to get a second costume, and that's unreasonable for most people. So the reason we haven't added druid like the animal changing abilities specifically is because like face-to-face human interaction as opposed to on the tabletop, it's very hard to represent it without sending someone to their car for half an hour to get changed.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah, it is. So apologies, but if I were thinking, as everybody said, playing part healer of Gowler, playing a little bit of learned mage with spells like I guess dispel and freeze would be good ones.
You could always take damage and just like textually flavor it.
Lightning would be a better option.
Yeah.
That's more of a nature type.
And you could make it like as part of your character motivation, trying to find or like get access to what's it called? Shifter's Lament and Beastbane Remedy and all that stuff. If you want part of your character to be like, I want to be able to shift on my terms when I want, and then cut like that sort of thing. Because lore and mechanic wise, there's no way to just like shift at will. So having like collecting these potions could be a character motivation as well.
Yeah, and also take a familiar as soon as possible and make it an owl. Pretend it's talking to you. That's what all the other people with familiars currently do. Yeah.
We did discuss a while back of doing like probably on the wiki would be a good place for it, of doing some sample builds or some template builds for different common tropes, like your paladin, your monk, druid. Bard is another massive one that comes up nearly every time.
I've got some very strong builds because I mucked around with this a while back when we were discussing it, making the difference between like a cleric and paladin in our setting, and like a bard being like a wizard based around a certain item, and then just charm cards for days. Not that we use cards anymore, so you can charm way easier as a bard with your instrument. Thank God we got rid of those.
Once upon a time, I was the troll who every time there was an admin Q&A of any sort, I'd just ask, when's Bard going to be a class? Every time.
Without fail.
It's not a class, but there is a way to make a bard in a very with abilities that they would have at lower levels in D&D, and a lot of it is just taking a conduit with charm and then
having inspiring instrument,
and then arcane circlet, and then you can just
bada bing, bada boom, baby.
You have charm days.
It's possible to play a bard who can not only buff their friends with the instrument, but they can also, I think, 3 times per game as well. Once they get higher level, I think that's still the way it works.
Yeah.
I think that's
it's great.
And then you've also got potentially 8 charm cards and then items to increase that. It's insane. Charges. Sorry.
Here's the thing about inspiring instrument. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I had it for 2 years, and it was my favorite item I have ever had. It was so good. I will always recommend, if you have the guild, get it, and then buy yourself a ukulele or something.
I think we dropped it to 50 geld, didn't we? So people
starting. It's a beginning.
It's cheaper than it was when I got it.
Yeah, and that's so you can be a bard from game 1. We specifically did it for that reason.
Yeah. So good, I love it.
Bard it up, please. The more the merrier. Just no cowbell.
More cowbell.
No, doesn't need more cowbell.
All right, what about a triangle, Chris?
Yeah, triangle.
Oh, well.
You know what? I will pay a player to play a bard, bring a triangle, and I will pay you to stay in Tavern Town and play for the taverner.
No, because I asked someone with a legitimate musical instrument to follow people around, and it got everyone pissed off.
Yes, we're going to do that.
That is.
Let it follow you around, Chris.
Yeah.
You specifically.
Other way around here.
Pay people to follow other people around with musical instruments.
Lynn's already put a hand up, and Lynn said she was sing too. There you go.
I know exactly how she'd sing it.
Chris, Lynn, can you also do a bit of a dance for him as well?
I expect dancing,
Yeah.
It'll be the...
Joel, you need to bring a tambourine.
Bring the tambourine.
Bring the tambourine.
We can do all sorts of nefarious things with the tambourine.
Jay, yes, we're talking about combat bards.
I once was at a LARP where I followed someone around playing tambourine for about an hour. It was wonderful.
For you?
Yes, for me. And the other people who were also following him around playing instruments.
Yeah.
We were singing songs of glory, so...
On Jay's comment of talking about combat bards, that you're right, we're talking about player character bard, adventurer bards, but there's also the civilian entertainer role, which allows you to be a civilian who also plays the instrument, and they play it as a tier 3 character, so they can still buff people 3 times a game. They're limited in the amount of charm they can use, but there's nothing to stop them taking as their second item a hypnosis pendulum and literally being able to charm people once a game as well. So there's...
We've also
you
got
just be careful about what you're doing with it. Like, if it's just for fun, great, but it's not, as a civilian, it's not used to, for example, steal someone's cool relic thing and take it out of the game. You just got to be careful.
But on the upside with the civilian bards, or entertainers, I should say, they also get that ability to reduce someone's revive timer to a minute. So they should also they should be in high demand by the more combat-focused factions.
Yeah, get back out on the field.
Hire yourself a bard, baby.
Being an adventurer bard, though, would recommend. There's nothing quite as delightful as singing about how stupid worshipping Kree is, and then getting chased by worshippers across the field. It's just delightful. Would recommend.
I just need to note that the auto caption said that you said Adventurer Bob instead of Adventurer Bard.
Yes, Adventurer Bob.
I would also recommend being an Adventurer Bob.
Yeah, I love a good Adventurer Bob.
Bard is so good. I had so much fun doing it. Would recommend if you get the chance and you're not shy about performing in front of other people.
Yeah. Oh, and back to the civilian thing. Honestly, that talk of having a civilian bard on your payroll to help with getting you back into the action more often, all of the civilian roles are useful to factions.
Yeah.
Having
Get
a
yourself
civilian
some pet
payroll
civvies.
or a mystic rather, even having someone who can, do your in-game crafting for you while you're off on the field, and they're not going to get interrupted the way that, potentially a player crafter would be. Like having a merchant around, they can't necessarily sell you 100,000 things, but they can definitely, contribute.
Adopt a civvy today.
It's good to have them.
And also seer mystics, I forget their name.
Mystic.
They could tell you some very useful information that could get you a head start in the game,
Yeah,
And
we are
why
as
your captain enemies for you.
a little
Also-
sprinkling of things to come. We are looking at zhuzhing up civvies a little bit. So, yeah, like seers are definitely going to be coming in handy in the hopefully the near future. I mean, it's still there's nothing set in stone yet. It's it's still a discussion we still have yet to discuss, but it is changes are coming, and hopefully those changes are improvements and not detriments. But yes, get yourself some pet little pink sash boys.
Someone wrote in the comment, don't shop your civvies, and I agree.
Don't shop.
Michael, I'd just like to say, if anyone sings that song at LARP in my presence, I will ritually cast silence on you for the rest of the game.
I'll pretend I have it, and I'll do it too. I don't know how that song got so popular. It's awful.
I don't know. It's an earworm.
Nah. Well, yeah, definitely a worm.
Like I
someone who spent a
understand
lot
why
of time.
people want people to shut up when they play it, but it's a good song.
It is
I
my.
don't want to hear it all.
It is my
that's
solid
fair.
opinion. And I will die on this hill that toss a coin to your Witcher is LARP Wonderwall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway, here's toss a
mostly
coin.
contended with Diggy Diggy Hole.
Yeah. I have fond memories
Diggy Hole's actually good.
Or Wellerman.
It is very good.
Wellerman works better though because it sounds like it's a similar word to Wonderwall. Like anyway, here's Wellerman.
I don't think I've heard Wellerman.
Chris.
I'm not going to sing
have
it because I
heard
know Becky
Wellerman.
will come to my house and murder me.
Hi.
Christopher, you have heard Wellerman.
That's another one I'll ritually cast silence on you.
I was going to say, I don't think you'd even ritually cast silence, you just murder them on the spot.
Here's the thing. I went out of my way to try and learn songs for LARP that weren't super popular from video games and stuff. I think the only one I did perform was Daughter of the Sea from World of Warcraft, and that was for a talent night. Otherwise, I avoided anything that would break immersion, and that worked for me, and it felt like I was actually playing songs that could have been written in the world of Scy'kadia, and I had written some of my own as well, and I'd changed the words to make them fit. And so if you're going to play a bard, I'd strongly recommend doing your best to find songs that people aren't necessarily going to be familiar with, or try writing your own, because it can be really fun, and it's really fun insulting people with music.
Yeah.
Daughter of
Writing
Sea
your
was a
own
really good
little
song, though.
ditties that fit in with the world is fun, quality content that expands the lore.
The lore. The lore!
I just love music, so if you want to talk bard stuff, hi. I played one for 3 years. I love this stuff.
Becky is also just a bard in real life, so...
Potentially.
So about kidnapping civilians and forcing their entertainers to play for your entertainment.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
I
If
mean...
they want to roll with the RP, let them.
Time for
as long as they aren't being harmed.
They might be playing
Hi, Jay.
crying, but if you find the crying inspiring, then I would... I think that works.
You could certainly force them to play for you, but I doubt their terrified wailing is going to be particularly inspirational.
I don't know. There's a couple of players who'd really dig that.
Yeah, look, I'm just saying, I feel like crying would inspire a lot of Shadow members.
Yep, that's...
It'd be good. Yeah, it'd be good for Shadow.
I actually want to really see a goblin entertainer now.
Oh golly.
Oh no.
Don't give
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I do.
Not
Don't
playing
give
the
him
bagpipes
ideas.
either, just playing a pig's bladder, just like.
Oh my god.
Oh golly.
One day I'm gonna bring my mom's bagpipes to game.
Yes.
Because they're
Who would
glorious. I
who would
can't
be a
play for
good
the life of
goblin
me, but
entertainer?
Rat
I reckon
Fink.
George would make a great goblin entertainer.
yes.
We already have Rat Finkers
We already
right
have
here.
Rat Fink is possibly
Rat
enough
Fink is already
for
an
a
entertainer
lifetime.
because he's just entertaining. Can confirm Bard cried before and some people found it very entertaining. Did you
Yep.
charge for your services? Because if it counted as like inspiring,
That's
then
therapy.
I think you deserve to charge.
Yeah.
Yep. You deserve gold for your entertainment.
Inspired by mindless sobbing.
No, it's not therapy. It's reverse therapy because
For
you're getting
5
money for
geld.
crying rather than giving money to cry.
For 5 gold, I will cry for you.
Specifically for you.
Yep. Do you need to pretend that you have emotion? Do you need? Is there a situation where you need to cry, but you don't think you'll be able to? I will offer my services for 5 gold. Just come and cry in your place.
Oh, we have
You know?
a question.
Hmm.
What's from Matthew? What's the kind of overworld aggression that Scy'kadia has both in game and online? Like, are people kind of attack on sight just because some characters would seem to have inherent intense animosity towards one another? But is that the vibe? That's an interesting question. I feel like it's very much just how it is at games, which granted there haven't been too many of lately, but it's like just because it depends on the person. Some people will attack you on sight because that's their vibe. Some people will just take you for a very threatening stroll through the forest.
Depends on the
Looking at you,
species
George.
too. Like if undead, for example, especially after the last big undead war, I can't imagine any human realm where a zombie walking down the street wouldn't instantly be strung up and burnt to death. Like it's
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Just anything but an Arcosian walking through Arcos would
Yeah,
generally
yeah.
gonna get you attacked on sight.
Yes.
Arcosians love
In
war.
Arcos, bad time.
Yeah, if you're in any way magical, whether you're an animated magical thing, an elementary, an elf, and you're walking through the streets of Arcos,
Or a
expect
Thadian.
Innocent wizard.
A
Sorry?
Thadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So-
even then, Thadia only begrudgingly says, "Okay, yeah, our mages are like."
No, I mean a
military
Thadian walking
asset,
through
but-
Arcos.
But
Oh,
yeah, like a random witch on the street isn't going to be welcome.
yeah. And to note, particularly for our setting of like Guardian Vale,
Yes.
because it's kind of like a sort of a lawless place, it's going to follow general stuff of the rest of Scy'kadia, but you're going to find people tend to be slightly more accepting of magical beings, undead stuff like that, because they're kind of like, well, this crazy town may as well happen, but that doesn't mean there aren't going to be stuffy Arcosians who are going to see and try to kill an elementary on sight.
And
And
speaking
also,
of, sorry,
at the same time, people might be more aggressive because there aren't as many laws here. So,
Yeah.
hey, I can just go stab someone.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because yeah, blech, what am I saying? Going off from your point, Bertie, that like the West is an exception to the general rule because it is a very
Yeah.
lawless place. I mean, even Tavern Town, the absolute stuck-up bastards that they are. Love you, Chris.
Pinnacle of law in the West.
It's a very lawless place. So the standard for just walking up and stabbing someone that there is in Guardian Vale is not the case like in actual civilizations, in cities, in actual one of the mortal realms or whatever. And Lynn had a really good point a little bit up that people certainly posture online with prowess they can't necessarily back in person. And that is, I wanted to point that out because that is something that a lot of folks, I mean, even I have to be careful of it. As, sure, I'm an admin character or I play an admin character, but I still have to physically be able to do or physically be able to represent that stuff in game. So yeah, it's something that everyone needs to be really careful of, including us. Like, that we're not just going ham and going overboard just because we can, just because, we're just we're describing things happening rather than actually trying to do them or represent doing them. And we have guidelines and stuff on that in the downtime roleplay rules, but it's still just a very sort of nebulous case by case kind of thing. There is no like hard, line, because everyone's different and everyone's characters are different. So yeah, that is it's there's not much we can do about it aside from just monitor ourselves.
It's the problem with running any creative activity. It's always that fine line between censoring creativity and ensuring fair play, and it's hard.
In the same way that people tend to find it easier to be mean online because you can't see the actual person on the other side of the screen. Sometimes people might RP to be something bigger and scarier than they are, because all they have to do is to be able to type it up rather than show it physically. But because our downtime roleplay on Discord is specifically only supplemental to our games, you should not be doing anything on Discord that you could not do at a game.
Just one little thought on the level of aggression in the Vale as well. Remember that the vast amount of people that you run into in the game are fellow adventurers, and because an adventurer is, insanely lucky and tough compared to the average person, like all Scy'kadian adventurers are just a little bit destined to outshine the local farmer. The level of aggression is sort of skewed by that, because like an adventurer might walk down the streets of Tavern Town with just a bunch of like farmers and stuff and really throw their weight around, but they then need to deal with the sort of snapback effect of local like adventurer guards or just adventurers who take a dislike to them, then coming to stomp them. So you've got to just bear that in mind. Like, as adventurers, they've seen some stuff and they know that they can't really they have to expect the unexpected at any point. So yeah, the aggression is is very different to the outside world. That's all I had.
We have a request, Becky, from Lynn.
Oh, yes.
Please boop the snoots.
Oh, okay.
Need to do it on camera.
Very important request.
It is.
Boop.
There you go, Lynn. Double boop.
They're booped.
Snoots have been booped.
It's booped. Now they go back to sleep.
Matthew says, that's actually a really good point. Are you implying that we don't normally have good points?
Yeah, Matthew, what the hell?
Yeah, Matthew. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean...
Gosh, how dare you?
Sometimes we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah. Just because we have, at most, 3 brain cells between the 5 of us, honestly.
And let them know.
Sometimes all 3 reside in one person.
I'll have you know that I make a good point at least once a month.
Sometimes it's a really good point too.
Yeah.
Seen it.
Sometimes people even listen to it. But that's
so
maybe
just
more
on the point of like aggression at games, it also, as it outside of the Veil, basically it's different from realm to realm. The same in the Veil. It's different in different parts of the Veil you go to. For instance, if you were to wander into Shadow Camp, you'll get different levels of aggression depending on if you went into Light Camp or into the Circle.
yes.
And different expectations too. Whilst if you walked into Clan, you might be liable to get a drink, as also you're liable to get a dagger between your ribs. Both of which will come from the camp admin, probably.
I You know what? I have nothing to say to that. That's accurate.
And also, the Vale is a place of magic whoosh and mystery. So who knows? Maybe something explodes and suddenly it gets everyone feeling really angry and suddenly everyone's aggressive. Or maybe something goes poof and no one wants to fight ever again.
Yeah, so that's the thing with the Vale. It doesn't represent the rest of Scy'kadia. It is a highly abnormal place.
Yeah.
Which,
the Vale's nuts. It's great.
From various reasons. And just on that point, there is actually more magic concentrated in the Vale than pretty much any other place around Scy'kadia. Is that correct, Chris?
Well, yeah, the Weft itself was once the Wefteril Empire, where magic was first given like self-awareness, and there's a gigantic portal to ruin right in the very middle of it that no one ever returns from. So, yeah, arguably, especially like raw dark magic or raw ruinous sorcery, it's a rough place for wizards in general, and that's why we say to new players, if you need to change your species after a couple of games, or change your character's name, or even come up with a backstory like a few games in, the place is so magical that like completely like changing your skin when you first arrive, like changing all your spells a few games in, it all makes perfect sense because we can just shrug and say, magic.
You got hit with a bit of wild magic when you walked in.
Yes.
The common amnesia trope, which may not work which may be like overdone for a lot of other types of games, is perfectly acceptable for Scy'kadia. It's quite common for people to wander into the Vale and completely forget who they are, just due to the sheer amount of magic.
Yeah, little things to help our new players out. And I think we had a discussion recently about making gameplay for new players a little bit less confusing by potentially giving them a free game where they're not affected by certain stuff. Just to, we're experimenting with that, but
temporary immunity.
We have lots of schemes for the future.
Yes, there are plans, as we said.
Don't take any of them when we mention we're thinking about it. Don't take that as a given.
Yeah.
We do a lot of thinking.
Instantly decide that it's a stupid idea.
For every new rule that or every new mechanic that we add to the rules, there are like at least 10 others that we've talked about for hours. And then gone, nah.
Addie kept having to cut us short earlier because we kept wanting to discuss things more and more.
Yeah, we had ourselves a little meeting, a spicy little look behind the scenes. We had ourselves a meeting to finalize some 2022 rules updates. And yeah, just I was like, come on guys, we gotta go to the next point. We have a stream soon.
Yeah, and we go off on tangents because we've all collectively got that much experience watching from our perspective and the player perspective that whenever we do devise something new, we're like, how are they going to break this? And then like, oh no, how can we break the fact that they're going to break this? And it's just like...
The discussion is, how will they break this? How can we stop them breaking this? What can we put in place? No, they're just going to break it. Let's add it.
Yeah, is there any point in trying to stop them breaking it?
Yeah.
We
also because we're all big ass nerds and we like talking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, we like having ideas and coming up with cool plot and gameplay things. I know, right? Isn't that crazy? So we do just like go on tangents for like 10 minutes talking about something that wasn't even on the agenda.
Quick question is, will there be patch notes or will we need to read the entire rules again? When we put out a new set of rules, we usually have all of the new bits in the rules will be highlighted in a particular color that'll be noted before the document. So you can kind of just do a quick scroll and be like, oh, that bit's green, I should read that. We don't tend to do like full patch notes.
Although with the way that Gabe does the new rule book, maybe it would be easier.
Maybe better to do patch notes instead of
highlighting.
And we're looking. One of the things that we're looking at doing is every now and then doing like a little rules highlight video. just like, this is how this works. And for all those moments, all those questions that a lot of people have of like, in this very specific scenario, how does this thing and this thing how does this mechanic and this mechanic interact? And it's stuff that's like not common or general enough to like include in the rules, but it's something that we can cover. So we can do like rules highlights and stuff for the new rules. Although that being said, we do recommend fairly regularly just skimming through the rules that you have already read and haven't.
As Lynn said,
so they're fresh.
Recommend a reread of all the rules because A, it's been a while, and B, it's fun to do on the regular. There's pretty pictures. Gabe did a great job of formatting them. It's nice on the eyes.
Yeah.
Like just this week, I was telling all the arbiters, please reread before games go back.
Yeah, and it's not like there's going to be a lot of like major changes because we still have a bunch of stuff from the previous update that we wanted to, and COVID has prevented us from doing that. But there's still a lot of players I know of. I'm looking at you, all of you, who haven't read Gabe's new wonderfully formatted update. So it would pay to just go through and do a solid reread. It'll only take you like an hour. Let's face it. It's a long book.
Not even.
It's not like the DM guide from Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. Like.
Yeah.
We made the changes to Assassin at the end of 2019, the start of 2020, and we still haven't had like more than maybe 6 games with the new Assassin rules.
Yeah. So with that in mind, the 2022 rules update isn't going to actually change a lot of things in terms of the actual rules.
Yeah.
We wanted to keep it a very light update in terms of just a couple of like quality of life things that needed changing, some formatting and grammar stuff and all of that, but nothing crazy because we're very aware that the rules changes from the past year or two have not got a lot of playtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the stuff that we are adding in is also stuff that we've been discussing for a long time, stuff that we've been talking about doing for like even like thinking of like not even like solidly this idea, but just the general vibe of something that we've been thinking about doing for years, and we're now like actually kind of getting into it and all of that stuff. And we haven't changed anything that was changed between 2020 and 2021 because those rules haven't had a chance to be properly play tested and everything. So yeah, it is a fairly light update, but what I can say that what we have updated I'm very excited about, and we have stuff in the works for like future updates like for next year and everything even that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, especially after this morning, it all feels very, very solid. I mean, I've been really enjoying working with the rest of the team because everyone knows their shit, and it's really cool, to even when we don't necessarily agree on something straight away, we're able to articulate and go, actually, yeah, like this, So what you're going to get, players, hopefully, is sort of the best of the 3 brain cells.
We're working hard to deliver you only the best thoughts that our 3 communal brain cells can provide.
Can we give like a bit of a hint?
Ooh, do we want to?
Come?
I mean, I'll give a retrospective hint that we have already been dropping some foreshadowing in like Discord roleplay and everything.
Yes.
I will sprinkle that little hint. I don't know how much more we want to say than that. What do you guys think?
I mean, we have a new keyword
coming. What
hint
it's going to be.
We have a new keyword coming.
Lynn says, "Nah, don't just surprise us."
Yeah.
Oh, the new keyword. Yeah. The condition.
Yes, condition keyword. Yes.
I think that one's fair.
We haven't. Well, we don't tell them what it is. We can just tell them it's a hint of it.
We have,
coming.
we have just a couple, and it's not like crazy new stuff. It's stuff that you'll probably would have seen as like a relic effect or something in the past, or an admin ability, or something that you've seen at least a similar rule or mechanic, and we've just refined it as something that we can potentially use for other stuff, for creating So rather than being like, oh, this relic, writing a full paragraph of how this rule works, we can just put, that sort of mechanic in the rule book and be like, okay, this relic has this ability, and it's much simpler that way.
Yeah, simplicity is what we've always sort of aimed for, and a lot of the time people will ask for something that unfortunately it would make things really, really complex, and that's what meetings like this morning are about. We take the most complex thing and try to bend it so that a new player isn't going to read that and go, oh my God, I'm never going to understand this, I'm not going to play,
Yeah.
Peter had a really cool question, which actually comes back to a bit of plot, which other admins were involved in running, which was fun. He asked, is there a magical way to change your species with some drawbacks? And I want to say that we're unlikely to put a ritual into the game specifically to change species, because we don't want it to be especially common, and we also don't want to force people to change their costuming. But there have been in-game instances of roleplay that have led to it. For example, a Elementary of Life was attacked by a greater vampiric character, and where a human might potentially change species to undead to represent an arcane sort of merging of their bloods and whatnot, which isn't, again, in Scy'kadian lore, it's not like a vampire just bites you and you're instantly a vampire, because otherwise everyone would be a vampire.
Whole, ritual, I guess, is a way of saying it. It's a whole thing. While we won't put any rituals in game to change race, changing race or changing species rather would require a powerful ritual at the very least.
But it's definitely a thing that can happen within the world of Scy'kadia. It's just not very common.
And there's certain races where it'd be less common to almost impossible. Like, it'd be very unlikely to near impossible for a human to change into, say, an elementary.
There are some stuff that's just straight up impossible. But things like any other species to undead is very, mind you, still very rare, but a little more feasible, because that's how undead are made. They used to be something else. So stuff like that is okay, yeah, that could occasionally happen, and it'll be major plot or major character plot or overarching story plot stuff. It's not common, but yeah.
One other thing that pops to mind before going back to the elemental story is that by the lore, fallen elves are basically high elves that have just forsaken Teolu and turned to dark magic for a length of time. So I don't know, 30 games in of a high elf just constantly using evil stuff, that sort of thing.
You could up here switch to fallen elf. Of course, any race changes you would need to run by us, just so we can make sure that you're not doing something crazy, and also so we know and we can change it in the
in our
records and everything.
Yes.
Jerome, elementary into a human, almost certainly not.
Yeah.
Elementary things turning into elementary and elementary turning into things is pretty much just a flat no, considering the nature of how elementary are made.
The closest to an elementary would maybe be an elf, but even just because of the magical aspects. But even then, you couldn't turn an elementary into an elf or an elf into an elementary.
So I think elementary basically are elemental forces of fire or earth or water that have decided to take on a more human form. They're still just magic. There's no organs. There's
Well, they might have organs if they're aware of
if they're aware of organs, have decided to put them in, which is when they first take form, probably not, and maybe later if they were a doctor or something and worked out.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, you got that thing in there. Should I have one of those?"
It wouldn't be functioning, but it'd look the same.
I'm imagining as maybe potential big bad for the future or something. But an elementary doctor surgeon type character who dissects people because they want to become more human or want to
Pinocchio syndrome.
Like that
Yeah.
episode of Doctor Who with the 2D people trying to become 3D.
Oh yeah.
But the Elementari trying to become more
Human.
human.
Yeah,
I can see.
I can see
People
horror
working.
elements of this working out plot-wise, but as
Yeah,
far as
that'd be
player
fun.
characters changing, it's rare.
Yes.
And as for the what led to the elemental with the Greater Vampire, which was a monster, by the way, not a playable character. It was just a one-off
an
weekend
NPC, yeah.
event, basically, and anyone could have been susceptible to this plot. And it was really cool of the elemental player to roll with this, but essentially the transformative power, being that they weren't a mortal being, instead started to rot them. So they were becoming not quite undead so much as a corrupted part-free creature. And if they didn't sort of purge that from their system, there was the chance of them just crumbling, like their body no longer being able to hold their elemental form anymore. Like they just blackened and died. So there's
That's okay. The power of Flamortus was holding them together.
that was it. Yeah, it was a ruinous arc with I believe. How did that end? Did they sacrifice themselves in the end?
They.
I know the
did
character's not with us anymore.
We did a ritual to restore their soul enough that it could return to the stream of magic while their body decayed. So we separated the soul from the body.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Effectively.
So yeah, so there are negative consequences if we ever do roll with something that potentially changes the species.
Species changes typically result in death.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be clear, it took a lot to get to that ritual, and that ritual was an awful experience for everyone involved,
Yeah.
particularly that character,
Yeah.
because basically she died very violently.
Love to see it.
Fun.
It was like my second game as an admin.
Yeah, species
It was a
changes
whole
are really
thing.
rare, and generally only done via some outside intervention, essentially.
I also
Is Flamortus
Sorry.
the Scy'kadia
Go on.
version of Flex
Yeah,
Tape?
I was going to say, what do we think the Scy'kadia version of Flex Tape really is? Because it ain't Flamortus.
I reckon it's Flamortus.
Nah.
Flamortus can be flex tape as a treat.
Quick, someone make
Jerome.
the meme.
Also, yeah, Eileen, thanks for reminding us. We have welcomed 2 new arbiters to the team.
Yes.
Michael and Joel.
Big round of applause in the comments. And everything.
Please listen to them. They are now they now have power over you, and they're so powerful they can kill you in one hit now. Like that's how being an arbiter works, right, guys?
Yeah.
That's
totally
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm inclined to
They get
disagree.
smart now.
Yeah, they get
permission to bully you.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's exactly how that works. For anyone who actually doesn't really understand the Arbiter role, I'm going to be putting up a post in a few days to let you know who's on the Arbiter team and just what their actual role is, because I feel like a lot of players don't really go to the Arbiters for things and go, the admins will solve my problems. Surprise, we're busy.
The arbiters can solve many problems.
So
The Flex Tape.
Where'd you get the arbiter manual? Where's that? Is that a thing? Can we?
Becky's been
Can I have
working
it,
on
can I have that?
in their spare time.
What,
All the
can
spare
you
time that
email
Becky
that to
has.
us,
I
Joel?
have all that spare
It's
time.
a single
Yeah.
A3 piece of butcher's paper written in crayon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just says in crayon, do what Becky says. And I deliver it to each of them personally when they join the team.
Is it
And I
written
say,
like
I
And
Chiral?
there's
will
just
boss
one
now.
to share.
It's written like the Chiral invitation.
Yeah. I invite them to a tea party.
So Gabby wants to know if there's going to be no Kasan sexy vampire thralls.
Oh.
I think Pike really wants to be a vampire thrall.
Maybe I could have like a fancy kind of bind that sort of works in a similar way. Whoops.
There you go. Pike just
Let's make anything possible, but make no promises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's just
That's the
it's-
real moral of all of our streams. when it comes to discussing like future plans and mechanics and everything.
Anything's possible, but nothing's set in stone.
Yes, that's about it. We
reserve the right to realize that we made a mistake and turn around and say, no, actually.
Every 15 minutes of every day.
Yeah.
What else can we hint at?
Oh, what else can we hint at?
Maybe some changes to some things we've been working on. Just hint at the changes.
We've made a few changes.
This is really vague.
Exactly.
Out of combat zombify.
No.
You'd have to be in a combat scenario to use zombify in the first place, though.
Zombify happens on players that are taken
out of action.
Out of character. Yep.
Characters.
We the closest thing to an out of combat zombify is bind. So and it's arguably more effective. So if you want to go full necromancer and then do stuff out of combat, zombify. Is Skull of the Necromancer,
I just go up to people
take a bind ring, take a whole bunch of other stuff. You can potentially have like 5 bound people at once and a whole bunch of zombies, in combat to help you out.
As Jerome was saying, as an admin ability for Kasan. Just like going up and zombifying people. Bold of you to assume that I don't already do that.
Have you not seen our training games, Jerome?
For those who were at the last weekender, you may have noticed that there was a card game at a table, and Khan was running it. So I can hear my voice echoing. That's weird. Slowly zombifying each person at the table, and I walk over and go, "Hey, how's it going?" And Addie just looks at me with this big grin and just said, "Everyone's zombified."
I was sitting there playing cards with like 5 zombies.
-5 to intelligence. Jerome just made a point about there is actually a use of like permanent zombify, and it's to zombify a character who has died, not just out of action.
We need to kill more people.
Yep.
Please take that out of context because it's true either way.
So can we kill Joel's character and then we can make Joel a zombie?
Zombie Joel! Zombie Joel!
And we can have, but kill him when he's shifted. Oh, that's a good point for lore, Chris. And someone's asked this in the past, and I don't think I had a straight answer for them. If you kill a shifter while they're shifted, like killed, or even taken out of action would probably even work as well, do they revert to their human form, or do they stay in their shifted form?
That is something that I haven't really had a hard consider about. I think it could go either way. I think I don't know. I think, tricky.
Like if you take a shifter out of action, do they stay in their shifted form, or do they revert to their human form?
Because I'm going
out
off,
of action,
all
mechanically.
Sorts of modern werewolf movie lore, and they do. There's some where they 90% of them they shift back into a person, and that's why people don't believe in werewolves because it dies and then they disappear. But in Scy'kadia, people just know they exist. So
obviously out of action they stay in their werewolf form because they get back up again. And
I'm tempted to say, because this is talking mechanically, possibly for someone being able to have a 3 hit point shifter as their thrall that cannot run, which would be useless in my opinion because anyone. But I think probably for our purposes they would revert back to because then now I'm not even thinking lore, I'm thinking mechanically. Would they have to go back to get changed and then? Oh man, let me think on this.
It would be really cool though if they stay in their shifted form, because then imagine people with their loved ones didn't know that they were shifted, that they were shifters, and they go out and they get killed, and everyone thinks that they must have died or gone missing, but they were the shifter.
Well, also, Shardhounds are a monster in the Weft that are basically undead shifters, and all the magic and stuff in their blood has grown like spines of crystal and stuff. So, all right, let's make a ruling. They stay in their shifted form if they die. Done.
So then we can have a shifter that dies at game while shifted, who then gets the zombify cast on them, so they become a Shardhound?
over a
Can
century.
I make pet
like
shardhounds,
in
Chris?
300 years' time when you're still playing this game.
Becky, you're an admin. You can do what you want, right?
All right, players, you heard it here. Chris said you can make shardhounds. Just got to start killing off some shifters.
And wait
I mean,
300
you
years.
have a very loyal
One
one
time.
right in your camp.
I know. Hey, Joel.
You want to be a shardhound, Joel?
Also, we have our wonderful Flamortus meme in the memes and pics channel of our Discord. Thank you very much, Michael. That's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
Well done.
I'm really tempted to go look, but I don't have access right now. That is an interesting question.
And it's
Any more interesting questions, folks?
Chris is going to be consumed by this for the next week.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not going to hear the end of it in all of our admin forums, discussions.
Oh
chats.
no! Now I really want to go look, but I'm going to reserve that. I'm going to hold off until later.
Of self-control.
Mm.
I think have we got one more question before we have to, I at least have to duck off and I'm running the stream, so sucked in everyone else.
I think an hour and a half.
One more thing for us to go on
people.
one more thing for us to go on another 10-minute tangent about as these things tend to go.
Ask a question. Any question.
Literally any question, and we will answer it.
Yeah.
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 I challenge you
Serious way.
to ask us any question.
Anything at all.
Anything.
What's the delay? About 20 seconds?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Ish. I'm gonna be like bop and then 1.
I mean, mine hasn't caught up yet. It's still.
That means there's we should have a poll on who's going to have the first question. Who's going to have the question?
Is there really only one more question?
16.
Ah.
That's it. Question. Sorry, Jerome, done. Good stream, everybody.
Lovely,
that's the
lovely
last
chat,
one.
everyone.
We can take a few little questions.
Hang on. Here we go. Here's a question. Do the various countries / realms have spy organizations? Of course they do. Every politician,
Well, that'd be telling.
political organization, government, etc., ruling body has spies. That's just basic politics and military tactics, baby.
Can you imagine a fallen elf spy in other realms trying to blend?
Actually, there is a mention of fallen elves working through the underworlds of potentially Thadia and other places. It's part of the new Feyring history. The first guy to kick it off was a fallen elf called Ametrion. So yeah, it is possible, but yeah, they're not likely to be hanging out in the courts, for example.
Just saying, myself trying to blend in Thadia.
Just
probably do a better job than a mist elf. Yeah. But the spell swords of Mureth are, especially certain courts, like the Court of Cups, are very much espionage-based characters. When you meet a spell sword out in the world, you're not actually that likely to know it's a spell sword. They would cover their accent, they'd try to blend in with the local population. Or at least seem to be merchants from elsewhere, things like that. So yeah, they're spies.
Are there a faction of spies? I mean, the Cult of the Nighthawk.
Yeah,
it depends on the place.
And in some of on the wiki for some pages, it does mention for some of the locations it mentions it. I know Thadia has Blackhawk. But
there's no specific mentions of spies, but Thadia has the Cult of the Nighthawk, who are sort of like an underworld thing. Ashbourne are all basically spies for their draconic overlords.
Even if they don't know it yet.
And you're also welcome to make your own little kind of spy organizations in personal canon as well.
Yeah. But remember everyone, a good spy organization is not a famous spy organization.
Yes.
True.
No.
If they're known about, they're not a very good spy.
Factions in game. I'm not going to, but I can rattle off 6 different names of spy organizations that have risen and fallen, and certain individual characters would often work between them. I think the only one I can mention is one of our first, which was the Blue Lotus, who were a faction who were made up of ex-slaves, predominantly from Frail. And so the only thing that marked them out as like together was the slave dot markings across the faces, but they were largely into like working behind the lines and stuff, at least initially.
An orc spider infiltrating the high elves.
Named
yes.
Human.
I mean,
think
you
that
should
would
talk
go
to Desmond about
fantastically.
Steve Human.
Yeah.
Stevie Humane.
Davy Humane.
You know what would be cool though, just popping into my head? A half orc living in the Thunder Foothills among the humans, who then sells his service to the dwarven overlords to say, like, you know, I'll go undercover with all the orc hordes around here so that I can keep relaying to you what they're up to. Like a bunch of half orcs who
I
are,
like that.
you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool options for spy, you know, characters, and like. I'd just play that as a warrior. I wouldn't even worry about playing a rogue. I'd just be like, yeah, half-orc warrior who was, you know, spying on all the goblin hordes and stuff nearby. That'd be sick. I'd love to see that.
On the
Yeah.
note of pun character names, I would like to share with you a character idea my dearest papa had. And those of you who know my dearest papa would know that this is going to be absolutely terrible.
Yes.
But he suggested a character who's a canine shifter, who is a, you know, full healer, like tier 3 healer, named Blue Healer, because they're a dog and they're a healer.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yep. Can we get a round of applause for my dearest papa and his wonderful, wonderful puns?
Extraordinary.
Yep. It's good stuff.
Horrible.
That's a free character concept to anyone who wants to take that, because I think
We have a quick question from Samantha, who wants to know what kind of distribution of species are currently in the Weft. A lot of different ones, some more than others.
Many.
Yeah, it's as soon as the Weft portal started to open, prophets in all realms heard about it, and whilst there's arguably more humans spread across the world than anywhere else, like humans are also, I don't know, like I think it's a pretty even mix. I think there'd be less Nephilim and Cambions by and large, just because they're not as common, but there'd still be more of them in the Weft than most villages.
So as far as like,
actually, also I
breakdown?
lied. My appointment is much later than I thought it was, and we don't have to wrap up the stream just yet.
That's good. We have a few questions.
I do still need to go in a bit.
Yep.
But
so we've got
time.
room for a couple more questions rather than having to finish up now.
As far as what the breakdown is, we'd never actually paid attention.
Maybe we should
Samantha,
do a census. I think some people have tried to do an in-character census.
There have been a few people try to do in character census, and you should totally try that as an in-character thing.
Well, given that the
I
Weft
wanted
is like
to do one for Circle so bad.
Yeah.
Actually,
I think the question would split it into what's in the Weft and what's specifically in Guardian Vale, at which point I would say 60 to 70% of Guardian Vale is human, with the other species making up roughly even numbers, and probably the least common species representation would be currently high elves and pixies.
Yeah.
I think everything else is roughly.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've big brained this, right? I've gone to our attendee database, Control F. All right, human has brought up 530 results. Elf, so that's including half elves and fallen elves, is 128. There are 55 Cambions.
But this is over like the several thousand players we've had.
Yes. 35 Nephilim. 21 small folk.
Oh.
76 shifters. What else do we have?
More shifters than elves.
Elementary.
38 undead element. And 89 elementari.
What about half grades?
Dwarves.
Oh yes, half 80 half such and such, orc, 24 orcs, dwarf, and 25 dwarves. Hang on, 22 dwarves.
Now, please bear in mind that is over the how.
This is over like our entire player base ever. So there are many people on this list or many characters on this list that do not exist anymore or have not been to game in years.
And a lot of those humans would be people who came to games once and then never came back. Which we get a lot of Medieval first.
That's just player characters. If you're talking NPCs, humans would greatly outnumber everything else in the Guardian Vow, because there are a lot of NPC humans that are just wandering out doing human stuff.
Yeah, most of Tavern Town is a mixture of humans with a scattering of like halflings and dwarves and whatnot. I never once thought that there would be elves in Tavern Town, just because I can't imagine them living comfortably there.
We also have a small question of how many regular bards are there at games?
Combat bards or civvy bards, like entertainers?
I think all of the above, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think usually a few, but they don't always do bardic activities, so I'm guessing, like when I see them, there's usually 3 active, and then there's a bunch that are just scattered around the player base.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, I was like the only one active.
There are 13 results for inspiring instrument in the attendee database. So
should be.
At least one of those is dead.
Yeah.
It's important to note.
I think it's about active players. I think it's around 3 or 4.
Yeah. We should make a new attendee database.
And on the note, by the way, because Jerome brought up finding it interesting that, like most fantasy settings, like traditional ones, humans are still the majority. I think it's
because they
really
move like cockroaches.
Well, that, and it's also like, that's why we sort of wrote it into the setting, because it is a trope. But also, costuming wise, we've always recommended that for the sake of immersion, if you don't have access to an awful lot of prosthetics, or you can't wear them, or you feel uncomfortable, or you just want to ease into it, like you don't want to instantly it's like a fallen elf with the full purple regalia. So most people,
it's just nice and easy.
Yeah, especially since in our games, species does not confer much benefit. Like choosing a different species does not confer much benefit. So the only reason you wouldn't pick a human is if you want to go to the effort of doing the makeup and prosthetics and everything. So not surprising there.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people who come to Scy'kadia who are just battle gamers will just pick human because it's easier.
Yeah, that's another thing. The cross contamination of various groups. You know, if you've got even
contamination
and you just want to relax at our game, often people will leave their orc stuff elsewhere. Being in Australia doesn't help either, because a lot of prosthetics is like, having played an orc as my first ever live character. It's rough. You know, you're dealing with the sweating of the grease paint, or you're dealing with the full latex masks superheating your brain in your skull. Like it's a lot of commitment. You've got to
not being able to layer clothing
in the shade and stuff.
As someone who wears a wig for all of my characters, don't wear wigs.
Yeah, wigs do trap in the heat a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've
but on the upside,
made the incredibly wise decision of giving a character that started off with just my normal hair, giving that character a wig. So
look, I did the same with Aaron.
On the upside, wearing full face paint and a wig means you don't get sunburnt very often on the face.
That's true.
Yeah, you just get heat stroke.
But still wear sunscreen underneath your makeup. Still wear it.
I was going to say, depending on the brand, because Grimbad constantly got sunburnt regardless of the full green makeup.
I don't know how, but I've never got burned when I was wearing like Snazaroo. And I don't know why, because like it's just like it's quite thin water based one, but
yeah, I've never been burnt through Corin's makeup, despite feeling the sun on my face, very hot.
I got burned through Fiella's, so it was always kind of funny. I'd take off all the white and it'd be red. It's like a cherry.
Wigs are fine if you don't mind role-playing a character with constant heat stroke, says Jerome.
Yep.
Also fun
Yeah.
is if you have like just designs on your face and then you come back and they're burned into your face.
Actually, if you're going to play something, because it occurs to me now, if you're going to play something like an orc with latex and everything, plan to find sort of like those cool packs and whatnot, like you can find and incorporate them into your costuming. I feel like that could help. Like just having a
Especially
big
being in
ring of
summertime.
icy stuff around your neck, maybe not, but like having that under a scarf, for example, might work well. I'm just thinking because the next time I want to play an orc, like because I really want to, they're a lot of fun.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I'm
So
I
on
want to play orcs so
plan
bad.
on
to
this
pick up.
topic though of costuming and heat, what are your question from me? What are y'all's recommendations or tips for a decent summer kit?
So there are,
Linen and cotton. Get rid of polyester if you want to survive.
All fishnets.
well, there are certain part of your body that lets heat escape out more than others. So not having a wig if you're playing someone with a full face mask lets the heat escape out of your head a lot better. Wearing short sleeves and letting your armpits breathe is also another way.
Tend to recommend if you aren't like beholden to having like corsetry, shapewear belts, whatever, foregoing those for summer kit, because I know that taking mine off at the end of summer, I'm just like damp,
sweaty
everywhere. Foregoing those can be very good for just having airflow going through, keeping you cool.
Yeah,
Flowy stuff.
When I take armor
loose.
off after a hot day, just the tunic underneath is just
loose clothing
damp.
Is always great because it's going to move around. It's going to let air go through, and also because it's moving, you're going to generate wind. You know?
Yeah.
That's physics.
And
Gabby says a tactical bikini.
That's over your costuming, right, Gabby?
Yeah.
No, that is your
full bodysuit and then a tactical bikini over the top.
Yeah, good point in the comments as well. If you're going to play like a barbaric character, avoid furs in summer. Like
avoid fur, wool,
whatever. But yeah, furs are going
thick
to
materials.
If you want to wear the fur, wear it around your waist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Don't wear it over your shoulders like I see so many characters do. It's just going to trap the heat in your torso.
Oh god, yeah.
If you wear it around like a battle skirt almost, wear the fur around your waist like a battle skirt, is going to be so much better for keeping the heat, letting the heat out of your torso, which is what you want to do. You don't want your torso to overheat.
Yeah.
And I say this every time the subject of costuming and safety comes up, because it in my personal opinion, I think it's a point that deserves reiterating again and again and again. But please do not sacrifice your comfort and your safety and your well-being for looking cool. Be it, wearing prosthetics like contact lenses and corsets and stuff like that are just uncomfortable to wear for a prolonged period of time, to wearing thicker materials, thicker costuming, gambesons, armor, furs in summer, to wearing immersive shoes versus shoes that you can walk around in. Just like, seriously, I would rather you showed up in like cargo shorts and a t-shirt and not get heat stroke because you're wearing heat responsible clothes than you show up with the sickest looking kit and you end up like getting sick and potentially even ending up in the back of an ambulance. I would much rather, or every single one of you, I would much rather you all were safe and well and healthy than looking cool.
Genuinely, like, people aren't going to, be angry at you if, like, I know for me, I wear prosthetics on my face, and some games I just forego them because I'm like, actually, you know what, I can't deal with that this game, and just, do what you can with, like, a little bit of makeup or something. If you've got to take off a layer, oh my god, take off your armor in summer. There is absolutely no benefit to wearing heavy armor in summer.
We have the fire sprite mechanics
in
place
you'll look
to
cool,
assist you with that.
but you won't look cool when we're stripping your armor off and loading you into the back of an ambulance with heat stroke.
Yeah.
So
Gabby makes a good point in the comments. Test your costumes. If you struggle to wear it at home walking around the backyard, you're not going to live through a game.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And something about corsets that just got mentioned briefly. I love corsets. I wear them regularly just in day-to-day life. I do not wear corsets full up anymore because it's just too restrictive for breathing, and I found it really uncomfortable. And I wore a corset full up for years, so I know very much what it's like. They look cool, and if you want to wear one, go ahead. But just remember that if you're going to wear a corset, you need to take the correct precautions, and you need to not tight lace yourself, and just be very aware of where you are heat wise, and that you're drinking enough water and all that stuff, because it's really easy to pass it all, then get really sick, which happened to me a few times. So I was an idiot.
Yeah, I think probably the most common things for heat stroke tend to be wigs, corsets, and catch-all armor.
Yeah.
Like armor and furs. So please do, particularly for summer kit.
And I see questions.
Have it tested out, and
I see questions on online LARP forums and stuff of oh, how can I make my water bottle immersive and stuff like that. And honestly, my response to that sort of thing is, I don't give a sod. I'd rather you bring a water bottle than leave it at home because you don't think it's immersive. I'd rather see you carrying around a big plastic hot pink jug of water than you walking around with nothing. Seriously, that's my opinion on all of this stuff. I would rather you look stupid as hell, and you don't look stupid as hell when you're carrying it's just a water bottle, but I'd rather you look stupid as hell than not look after yourself.
Yeah,
because I love you guys.
we want to make our games as immersive as possible, and we absolutely encourage you guys to go for immersive, really cool costumes. But the one thing that we will absolutely never, ever crap on people for is for not being immersive is safety and taking care of yourselves.
Yep.
Water bottles, hand sanitizer, toning down your kit, changing your kit so you're not gonna get heat stroke or pass out or anything. Always trumps immersion. We want you guys to be as immersive as possible, but we also want you guys to be safe and take care of yourselves. So
yeah, and there's I completely agree with what the rest of the team have said. And if you are looking for, how to make something immersive really cheap or whatever, there's people in the community who can do that. If you really want to go down that route and stay safe, there's ways to do it that are so simple. You might not think about it immediately, but yeah, there's going to be people to help. So if you need help with anything to make your kit safer, to make it look more immersive, which way you go, just ask on the group page. You'll get responses.
Yeah. You know what? I might chuck up a thread later for everyone to contribute their own tips and ideas for staying safe in summer with kit and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since we've had a bit of a delayed heat wave from the feel of it. It feels like it's been kicking in later.
I don't know what you guys... It's been hot all summer, and I keep hearing people say it's not been like summer, and I've been boiling.
Rest in pieces, I guess.
I think, though, it's probably about time for us to wrap up, as it is 1:30.
We haven't really had any more questions. So, I think we could probably wrap up.
Yes.
So.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thanks
for coming.
to everyone who said hi or asked questions or just left a comment and everything. It's honestly just, it's so nice to be able to talk to you guys and interact with you guys when we can't be at game. It's just, it, I don't know, to me, I'm sure the rest of you as well, but to me it just means a lot that like we can see you're all still here and you're all still keen, and it's just, yeah, it's really nice. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in and everything.
Thanks for sticking with us.
It's lovely
Thanks, everyone.
See this community still being wholesome and friendly and talking to each other, even when we can't actually do the thing we exist to do.
Yeah. All right. So.
Bye, Dwagon.
Farewell, everyone. Thank you so much. We will, see you on Discord, see you on Facebook, see you in future live streams. But yes, thank you so much, and see you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.